Black Adam actually came onto my radar when I was a kid. I love comic books, and I always gravitated towards Black Adam because he was one of the very few of the superheroes, supervillains, anti-heroes, however you want to categorize Black Adam. He was one of the few who looked like me. It was in the mid 2000s, maybe 2006, 2007, when we first started to discuss the idea with Warner Brothers of possibly making a movie based on Black Adam. It wasn't the easiest road because Black Adam was not one of the main superheroes that was world renowned and beloved. So it was a little bit of a challenge, and certainly I was in a different point in my career back in the mid to later 2000s. Certainly not in the position that I am in today to make a movie like Black Adam happen. So the talks back then were exciting. However, they really didn't go anyplace. But that did not mean that we ever gave up hope and faith that we were one day going to make Black Adam. I always knew that if we were ever to make Black Adam a reality, then it would require, I think, the hardest work that I've ever put in my life. And I've had the opportunity to work hard in the past. I come from a football background, University of Miami. We prided ourselves on being the hardest workers in the room, being national champions. I then transitioned in the crazy world of pro wrestling, where I was running around the world suplexing guys. But Black Adam is different and unique because you have an opportunity to introduce a character that no one in the world has a real reference to because he's never been on the big screen before. So you're starting from scratch. And I felt like if we're going to start from scratch, then the kind of training I had to put in, I felt like Black Adam commanded the hardest work I've ever put in my career. And when I tell you I went to work, I went to work. I had been training now for months for the role. And when I tried on the suit, I hated it because it had all the muscle padding in it. And when you put on a suit, a superhero suit, and it is padded with muscle, it actually takes away all your hard-earned muscle that you have worked hard for. We finally came back with a suit that just really just formed around my body. And the very first time I put that suit on, when it was time to rock and roll for our camera test, it was unforgettable. And I will never forget that moment, because in that moment, I became Black Adam. An anti-hero, in my opinion, kind of lives in that gray area, kind of lives right in the middle. Sometimes they're good, sometimes they're not so good. Sometimes the interpretation of the things that they do in their actions can be thought of as that's bad, that's a villain. Or sometimes, which is mostly the case of me and how I was growing up and how I still am, is sometimes those actions that may be deemed bad are actually good and needed. And what's interesting, what I found in Black Adam is the world can view things as black or white, but in the middle, that gray area, there's a lot of color in that gray area. You found that with Black Adam. We have found that with Black Adam now that we have stood this character up on its feet and delivered a movie that we are now watching audiences watch. I think because of the edge and that the characters of DC have edge. They have a little bit of darkness. Sometimes they have a lot of darkness. And that is, I think, one of the many reasons why DC has endured is because, man, if you think about it, even in the early comics, from Justice Society, Justice League, etc., those early comics, they were swinging. And they were big swings, big world-building swings. And these characters that had some complex issues, complex stories, but big stories. And I love the edge. I've always loved the edge about DC characters. And I think the world does too as well. It was deeply important to me to film my Black Adam interview here in Hawaii because it's my home and because this is where I grew up and this is where the spirit and the mana is, and it flows through my body, and this is an important passion project to me. I am so deeply passionate. I'm passionate about a lot of things I do, about everything I do, but Black Adam was special. And also, and I know it sounds crazy, but Black Adam went through a lot of struggle to get where he finally got to. Here in Hawaii is where we went through struggle. It's much different these days in my life, and I could come back here and, we're bringing production back here to Hawaii, and I'm at a different point in my career, but many moons ago when I lived here as a kid, well, we struggled here. We struggled so much we got evicted off the island because we couldn't pay rent. So, and I know it sounds crazy, but it was important to me to come back here where I struggled, to talk about a movie that was so important to me, about a character that struggled bad, but he overcame, and he wound up galvanizing people around him.